who's next? Yeah, who's next? Welcome to the C.L.I.M.B. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. We want you to win. This podcast exists to help give you information, motivation, and education so that you can create better leverage, become a better artist, become a better writer. And that's why we called it the C.L.I.M.B. C.L.I.M.B. means creating leverage in the music business. Brilliant. Thank you. I want to introduce my co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and more. And what I love about Brent is he helps songwriters turn pro by teaching the art, the craft, and the business of songwriting. And you can find Brent at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
Hey, and I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. I'm a lyricist. I don't get in front of the microphone very often. Anyway, Johnny owns Daredevil Production. It's an innovative artist development company. They help you find your sound, and they help you find your audience. Not only do they develop and improve your artistry, they also grow and monetize your fan base, creating cash flow. Boom, boom. Daredevil has worked with Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and wrong Daredevil. Okay, has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. And that joke is never going to get old. Just going to throw it out every once in a while. Anyway, you can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That's production, singular, no S. Why no S? Because there is only one Johnny Dwinell.
Woo! Thank the Lord for that. How you doing, brother?
I'm, other than being not able to talk, I'm good. But I think I'm going to be all right. A little bit, but that's all right. I don't have to carry this episode.
I'm the one having a cocktail. What are you doing? Yeah, what's going on? Like, you're drinking water.
Let me drink some more water.
Yeah, you need to rehydrate. So
there
hey,
we go. Hydration.
Title of this episode here: Happiness Drives Everything. It's all about your happiness.
Sounds deep, Johnny.
Sounds deep, sounds simple at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
it does.
We're going to talk about how to put some stuff in perspective so that you can navigate these waters as good as you can, to the best of your ability, let's say that. Mm-hmm. But before we do that, I think we should read a couple of new reviews.
Reviews. Love them.
Yes.
Except for when they're 4 stars. I'm just kidding. There's only been one of those.
That's all right.
All right. You ready? You want to go first? You want me to go first?
You go first.
All right. Let me go first. All right. This one is a nice 5-star review from Ty Divine. And it says, songwriters need this. 2 exclamation points. Count them 1, 2. It says, I just started listening to these, and I'm going to listen to all of them. Thank you. Great, useful information that is presented in such a fun way. Johnny and Brent communicate so well. Well, that's ironic considering I can't talk today. So well to each other and the listener. I learned so much. Songwriters and songwriter wannabes, turn it on and be a sponge. Thank you, Ty. That was a divine review. I appreciate you,
Ty.
She's a sweetheart. We actually we had a coaching session not long ago, and so I got to hang out with her for a couple hours online, and it was fun. Good song. It was a good time. So thank you so much for the review.
Awesome. And clearly she wrote that before she listened to this episode. So
there, exactly.
So I've got one here from Happy Ron, and the title, it's a 5-star review, and the title is Finally Something Different to Say. Having been to a ton of music workshops, I find this podcast gives information that is different and interesting. Plus, it's well produced for a podcast, friendly and to the point. So,
nice. Thank you, Happy Ron. We're happy that you're happy.
Ron.
Happy. Ron.
I had to do it.
There we go. I think Ron's been active in the some of the Facebook communities, so it's nice to see him over here on iTunes.
Oh, is it that Ron?
I think it's that same Happy Ron. Ron, if that's you, say hi in the group.
Say it's me.
Say it's me. I'm happy everywhere. So it's not, and he just said it's well produced for a podcast.
Well, I'm gonna go with my glass is half full and just take that as
I'm gonna say, you know what?
Awesome.
It is a podcast, so Thankfully, he didn't say it's well produced for a 4-year-old's, bunk bed play or something. So well produced for a podcast, spot on. That's exactly what we're aiming for.
We're gonna run with that.
Exactly.
But hey, we're well over 30,000 downloads at this point, so we want to thank you for that as well. It means everybody's, first of all, getting some value from it, feel like they're getting enough value that they want to share it, that they want to turn their friends onto it because they might think they're going to find some value from it too. That's the best right there. I mean, that just makes all this worthwhile when we're up here late at night after a full work day pounding these things out, because it's when we get feedback like that, it's awesome. So thank you so much. As always, if you like it, share, comment, leave a rating and review. As you just witnessed, we will certainly read it over the air. We try to read them all, and we go on from there. And we try to continue to improve, right?
Amen. Amen. We might even read and make fun of your review on the air.
That's right. So, all right. So I'm, a podcast junkie, and certainly I read a lot of different blogs, podcasts. One of my favorite sort of motivational speakers is Gary Vaynerchuk. This is not a surprise. This is where this podcast episode is born from. It's a quote. I'm going to read a quote. It is Gary Vaynerchuk. One of the reasons I like him, by the way, is because he swears like a sailor, and I do too, but I don't on this podcast. So I'm not going to, but you'll have to implement. You can input. You'll know what the words were supposed to be. Okay, right. But I'm going to keep this clean, so we keep our rating clean.
It is a family show.
That's right. Brent's sister's listening. Darn it! And
Exactly.
But so here's the quote, because this is fantastic. Talk about putting stuff in perspective. By the way, Gary Vaynerchuk, if you don't know who he is a immigrant from Eastern Europe. His from a world where both his grandfathers, maternal and paternal grandfathers, I believe, were put into prison just for being Jewish.
Yeah, they were old. Came over from Russia. His family did. I believe.
Well, it's Eastern Europe. Is it Russia? I'm not sure if it's
so. Yeah,
maybe. Okay, Russia. Maybe. Yeah. And he took a small family business wine store in Jersey and blew it up into like this multi-million-dollar deal using Twitter and just learning new ways to connect with people and to sort of jam with people online. So I love him. I love his perspective. I love his outlook, and that's what I want to share with you guys today. So we're going to start off the episode with this. Here's the quote. I'm not some great philosopher. This is simple S. That's an expletive. Okay. One at bat. This is it. You're going to die. Like, I don't understand. Here's what I don't understand. I want to talk about complaining. If you were making your own bed and you have to sleep in it, you need to shut your effing mouth. You're more than welcome. I've met hundreds of people who left their jobs making good money when they had college debt at 18% compounded interest because they needed their mental health to be happy. They were willing to take a step back, and in a 7-year period, they won because happiness drives everything. You collectively aren't patient enough. Your lack of patience is killing you. Your need of things is killing you. I don't need an effing watch. I don't need an effing whip. I need to be happy. One effing at bat. Gary Vaynerchuk.
Flipping. One flipping at bat.
One flipping at bat.
One fantastic at bat.
That's right. So this got me thinking, you're not taking enough responsibility for your happiness.
Mm-hmm.
You're not taking, which, by the way, means you're not taking enough responsibility for your artistry. Because I'm assuming that's what makes you happy, or you wouldn't be listening to this podcast and interested in improving it, right?
Right. If your artistry makes you unhappy, stop listening.
Right? Go
and you'll be happier.
And there's nothing wrong with if you're not taking your artistry seriously enough, unless you're frustrated with where your artistry is.
Yeah.
Right? Then that means that you're an artist, even if it's a hobby thing. I mean, my dad is a Marine. He's not a lifelong Marine. He's a businessman, but he toured Vietnam, and I was raised in that the Marine household. Like, listen, there's do it right the first time. And if you're not going to do it good, then don't bother doing it at all. That was like, or you get the Marine boot up your keister, and there's complications involved, But so that's just, I was raised that way, but a lot of people weren't. And so I want to share this. Like, if you're reading this, if you're listening to my voice right now, you're blessed to be in a country where you are allowed to listen to this. You're fortunate enough to own a computer, to have a smartphone, to receive this information, right? We have a lot of people where sometimes the media and certain big forces can skew perspectives. Okay, the 99%. There's a lot of people that are 99% that are complaining about being 99%. They feel disenfranchised. They feel like they're getting screwed over. A lot of times, artists and songwriters can feel that way, right?
Like you're getting held down.
Right, like the man's holding you down or something. Well, I want to remind you of something, a little perspective here. 50% of this planet, which is over 3.5 billion people, live on less than $2 per day. That's less than $1,000 a year. Okay, so if you're at the very, very bottom of the 99% and you have a smartphone so that you can hear this, or a computer so that you can hear this,
welcome to the 1%.
Yeah, you're actually in the 1% of the world.
Yeah,
you are at a place where people like Gary Vaynerchuk, where he came from, where his family immigrated from. Is they were happy to be here because it was terrible over there. They didn't get to have freedom of choice. They didn't get to, as flawed as it is, and it is flawed, Lord knows. But you're in the 1%. You make more than most people on this planet, even if you're poor here. And I want to say this because I want you to stop complaining right now, and I want you to be grateful. Let's start with things that you can be grateful for. You have 4 trillion to 1 chance of being a human being. Is that redundant? Being a human being?
Maybe so.
If your parents had sex 3 minutes later or 3 minutes before, you wouldn't be here. Out of millions of little swimmers, you won the lottery and became a human being. You got the chance.
So no matter what else happens in your life, you started off a winner.
That's astonishing, isn't it? Isn't that astonishing? Like, if you think about it like that, that is astonishing, right? So not only that, not only are you just breathing, living a human being, and you're in a position to make a difference, but God gave you an artistic gift to share with the world. And we need to be grateful for the fact that we're frustrated because we're struggling to get paid for that gift, rather than struggling to find food, struggling to get out of prison because of a religion that we believe in, struggling to turn a pair of freaking 2-liter soda bottles into shoes. I've seen pictures of that. That's a lot of gratitude, right? We've just got to start from gratitude. Brent, you weigh in on this because you're the king of this. Like, you're the most grateful person I've ever met. That's why I love you.
No, well, thank you. I mean, it's, we have good problems in this country. Everyone listening to this probably has good problems. If you hate your boss, well, it means you got a job.
You got one to hate. Yeah.
if you're fighting with your wife, if you're fighting with your spouse, it means you got a spouse. That's if the rent's due, you got a roof over your head. If you got a day job and you're struggling, I mean, like Johnny said, at least you're struggling to make this leap and to get paid for doing something you love. But at least you got a job. At least you're getting paid right now for something. And not everybody has that. And a lot of people would like to be where you are. And it's frustrating. I know it's frustrating. Every kind of level of writing and all this stuff has its own level of frustration. But just like, you know what? If you're breathing, you got a chance. You can make progress. And that's really where I think a lot of happiness comes from. Some stuff I've read is not so much where you are, but it's the feeling of making progress.
Yeah,
leads to a lot of fulfillment. And I can look back on my life and feel that way too. Like I'm not where I want to be, but man, I'm moving that direction. I'm moving forward.
Yeah.
If you focus on that, focus on process, focus on the journey. I mean, I end a lot of my blogs and stuff with enjoy the journey.
Love that.
Because that's the only thing you're guaranteed of having. You're not guaranteed of any particular destination.
Yeah.
Other than the graveyard.
That's right. That's the only destination that you're guaranteed.
You're guaranteed. Right. Between now and then, I don't know.
It's going to be what you make of it, which leads me right into this. I mean, what exactly, if you're listening to my voice right now, what exactly are you doing to take the next step towards pursuing your happiness? What Gary V is, what Vaynerchuk is his last name. He's affectionately referred to as Gary V. What he was saying about his own bet is true. Stop complaining, because I promise you that your status among the professional artist community and the consumer's awareness or lack of awareness of your art is a direct result of the time and attention that you've put towards it. Mm-hmm. And that's put the time and attention you've put towards making it and refining it and also marketing it. Mm-hmm. They're all together there. And some of us get frustrated because, we have that, we talked about that in a prior episode, where you have got that taste. You hear what it should be like in your head, and you're trying to close the gap, but the only way to close the gap is from real work. And I promise that if you put the time in and really, really put the time in, you're going to win. And when I say that you're going to win, to quote my good friend Brent Baxter here, you're going to feel satisfied from a sense of progress. Mm-hmm. You're going to find that happiness, So, what I find, and Brent, you and I both struggle with this in our careers. You commit to being a student of the game, you stop complaining, you stop passing blame, you stop creating excuses, and you start honestly asking questions and looking at ways to improve your situation, to craft your life in the way that you want to craft it. And are you really willing to take a step back sometimes? It's hard to do, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard to do to move forward. Brent, I'll give you a shout out right now. So I know you've done this with your career. I know you've done this. You're doing this with your personal situation right now. You're improving your life by getting these two kids from China that you just, now when this drops, you will be back, I think, right?
Probably so, or close to it. We come back on the So we come back on the 2nd of March.
So you'll be back when this episode airs. You will be back, but that's taking.
Let me tell you, Johnny, that jet lag is killing.
But financially is a big commitment. You're going to take a financial step back a little bit to take 10 steps forward, and spiritually, emotionally. Helping kids, improving your family, growing as a family, growing your relationship with your wife, and your kids are going to see with their own eyes from actions that you do. They're watching, and they're going to see this is what life is about, helping other people, right, and doing that. Mm-hmm. But you've got to be willing to take that step back, right? You've got to be willing to make that sacrifice. Oh
yeah. Our standard of living is financially most likely going to take a hit. We expect it to. Unless God intervenes and does something else. But yeah, we expect that too. But, we're excited about it because that's what we're called to do. And it's going to be well worth it. It's been worth it so far just to watch God work in that, and the feeling of progress and growth, and going, this is really cool, some of the stuff we've seen. But it was risky.
Yeah, and it's about the journey, right? It's about that journey.
Nothing's guaranteed. You don't know how it's going to end up. When we're like, okay, let's adopt. I had no idea we were going to be here. We thought maybe if we go to China, maybe like a little baby girl. That's what you think, adopting from China, you think little babies and little girls. And right now I'm the proud father of a 13-year-old and a 7-year-old boys. Right. Those are neither little babies nor girls. Yeah. So you don't know where it's going to go, but it's been a great journey.
And it's about that journey because you figured that out, but you've got to be willing to make that sacrifice. You've got to be willing to take that step back, right? Listen, everybody out there, you got a good gig maybe. You've got some things that are standing in your way of becoming more of a professional songwriter or making a living as an artist, you're afraid of losing your stuff. You're afraid of losing your lifestyle. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm here to tell you, not so bad. Having lived through it right here, raising my hand in the air, it isn't so bad. It's actually liberating because you realize that you can be okay, you know. If you're not willing to lose anything, that's okay. It means that your art is going to be more of a hobby, and there's nothing wrong with that, okay? Because that can bring you joy and bring you happiness. But what is wrong is complaining that you can't get your deal, or you can't get your professional recordings, or you can't get your publishing deal, or you can't find your audience, when, you know, these are things that are tackled by professional artists and not hobby artists. Right? You gotta be able to distinguish between the two. I mean, we do this every day for artists at Daredevil Production, but when I hear complaints about this reason or that reason, that they can't find an audience, they can't get paid, they can't make great recordings, it makes my hair stand up.
I've seen it. I can see him right now, and his hair is standing up, actually. It's not just the gel.
They're excuses, you know? And hey, again, son of a Marine, like that, I wasn't afforded excuses as a kid. Mm-hmm. Like, there is no excuses. Like, we're either going to do this or we're not. Like, so tell me, if you're not going to do it, you better have a good reason, right? Sometimes I got away with that, but mostly it was like, no, we're going to do this.
Right.
And you're going to figure out how to get it done. But, you know, I'll ask them, like, what exactly, are the issues that are preventing you from tackling the challenges in your artist career. And to me, this is like telling people saying, I can't breathe. You know, there's 7 billion people on this planet. They're all breathing. Why can't you? Mm-hmm. Why can't you do it? You know, why are you looking for excuses? Why, you know, you take action and solve the problem. You only get one shot. Like you said, there's only one destination that's guaranteed. You're going to die. Mm-hmm. At some point, it's all going to be over. You know, and if you don't seriously step up on the happiness level of your life, and sometimes that means stepping back momentarily, to follow your dreams, to follow your bliss, to follow what truly makes you happy and where you think you can be effective, that's the regret that you're going to have on your deathbed. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be something that you did. It's going to be something that you didn't do. For whatever reason that you didn't do it.
And I want to encourage you listening to you define your happiness. Yeah. You're listening to this, you're an aspiring songwriter, singer, or indie artist. But that doesn't mean that you need to take on somebody else's dream. You know, we talk a lot about, you know, getting cuts or getting, you know, making a living from your artistry and stuff. You have to define if that's the right thing for you, if that's going to be your mode of happiness. Because if it's not, for you, happiness may be taking a step back and go, I don't need to try and win a Grammy. I don't care. Right. I mean, that's making me miserable trying to chase this thing that isn't true to me. And another thing I think for happiness is don't tie your happiness to comfort or to things. Because they're not going to get you anywhere. I mean, my wife and I have talked a lot about that lately, and God has really been bringing us along on that. On, you know, comfort keeps us from doing so many things we're supposed to do. The fear of being uncomfortable. I have a nice house. I have a job, and if I quit this job to do this other thing or take this risk, then what's going to happen to my stuff? Well, eventually you're going to die, and somebody else is going to have your stuff anyway. So, yeah, you know, it's stepping out and saying, I'm not here to be comfortable.
Yeah, but what part of being an artist is comfortable anyway? If you're a real artist, it's all about being uncomfortable.
Right, stretching. Yeah. I mean, in a sense, because one of the most comfortable places for me on the planet is in the writing room because it's home. Right. So in a sense, but I make myself uncomfortable there because I'm stretching. So it's kind of a paradoxical, I guess. It's where I'm comfortable because that's how God wired me to be creative. And when I'm in that space where I can do that, it's very comfortable. But then I make myself uncomfortable by sitting down. At times, I don't feel like it. I'm not sitting down inspired. I'm sitting down to get inspired. You know, we work on appointment. 10 o'clock, time to go be inspired. And then also when you're in there and you're digging deeper and your co-writer's going, I think we can beat that. And you're like, you do get uncomfortable.
Yep. because you got to step it up. I mean, that brings me to the next point. I mean, listen, I can personally testify that money, your house, watches, cars, trips, restaurants, extra musical instruments, the latest recording gear, your softball league, basketball league, racquetball league, golf, your credit score, these are all completely worthless. They mean nothing. You find that out after you lose them, and because then you lose the fear, but they don't define you. You know, these things don't define you. It's your happiness that defines you. It's your when you meet somebody that's truly happy, it doesn't matter what they're doing. It does not matter what their job is. It doesn't matter how much money they have. It does, like, you know, you just have an attraction for them. You can sense it. Before I got married, I went to just that particular year. I was probably like 8 different weddings or whatever, which is like the most amount of weddings I've ever been to, I think. And it was all in like 1 year, like every other weekend. Ann and I were flying out to go to somewhere, and they were almost all of them were out of the state in California. I lived out in LA. We went to some weddings where they had a lot of money there, man. You know, and we went to some weddings where they scratched together. This couple did what they, and you know, the only thing that we laughed about because it was such a joyous revelation was that what we remembered most about each of those weddings was this and this only. Were those two people supposed to be together? Were they like really happy? Because if they were really happy, it just didn't matter what was going on. It was just a pleasure to be there. But if it wasn't, if it was awkward, if it was weird, that's what you remembered. And it didn't, whether the chicken tasted like rubber or not had no effect on the memory. You know, so the same thing with your songs, the same thing with your career, right? I mean, what other souls really see, you know, what they respond to, it's not your money. It's, you know, some people feel like security looks like this or tastes like that, but your true happiness is what they see. You know, when you're really happy because you're making progress, because you're always on the journey, there is no destination other than the final destination. That's when you sort of slip into really doing the work of being a better artist, of being a better parent, right? I mean, as a parent, do you have it all figured out?
Especially at this moment in time, they don't even speak English yet.
People are going to remember you for the way that you made them feel.
That's good because my kids aren't going to understand a single word I say.
That's right. And they're going to be happy to be there, man. You know, and they're going to be so honored. They're going to be so grateful because of the way you made them feel. Not because you got a Rolex, not because you have a Ferrari or a vintage 59 Les Paul. Yeah, and think about it, like from your perspective. I mean, those freaking kids coming over from China, from an orphanage in China. You could show them a plastic gold watch and they wouldn't be able to know the difference between that and a Rolex. It has no bearing on what they're going to think about you.
Yeah. I mean, they're just like, this is our room. You know, we get super excited, and this is a little sidebar, but you know, we added in a room to the house in our loft area. And it's like, you know, so they got a closet, and you know, we started, you know, gathering clothes up and put it in there. It's like, they don't have any clothes. They don't have any toys of their own. I mean, they get like kind of have an outfit, but you know, they share so much in the orphanage. They don't really have their own stuff. It's like, what are they going to think? You're going to open up this closet and it's like, there's your clothes. And they're like, what? Like, just little things we take for granted. They'd be like, I got a closet full of clothes. And you know, we're not fancy by any means. I mean, it's coming in from friends and Goodwill and, you know, outlet malls and that kind of stuff.
But they're going to have their own clothes.
They're going to have their own freaking clothes.
These are mine. Those are yours. That's awesome.
We got something to fight over now. Awesome.
That's right.
At least they're different sizes.
When you're really, really happy because you're doing what you were born to do, whatever that is, like Brent said, you define your own happiness. Like when you were doing what you were born to do, you can't help but make other people happy. You become the inspiration that all artists aspire to be, right? I mean, I made decent money in business. I have a talent for that. I made a lot of money in the financial industry. I mean, my monthly ad budget, this isn't my overhead on my company, but my ad budget when we were rocking with the radio shows and everything was like 3 months of that, probably more than most people listening to this podcast make in a year. And that was just the ad budget. And then, it all went away in 2008. And that's when I came to the revelation of, I just really need to be doing something that I want to do.
Yeah.
That I love to do, because that it's the ups and downs, guaranteed, gonna keep happening.
Right.
With some other president that's going to be elected, you're going to like him, you're not going to like him. So it's either going to be an up or it's going to be a down. And then it's going to swing back the other way. So if you were up, then you're going to be down. And money, the economy, like everything's going to go up and down. And for me, like when I lost everything, I'm going to share this with you. I lost a lot. I lost, my house. I lost, my wife and I split up. My savings, my business went away. Everything that I'd worked so hard to build. For a little while, I lost my dignity, excuse me. And for about a year, the scariest part, lost my direction. I just wasn't sure what I was going to do next, And I never had that happen. And in faith in myself and that God was going to show me at some point, the way was what got me through. Like I just had faith that it was going to happen. But when I moved back to Nashville from LA, I had nothing. I went from moving from one house in LA to the house that I bought in LA, and it required 2 trips with a full-on 24-foot U-Haul truck on both trips, moving from one house to the other. I couldn't believe how much crap we accumulated. And if you moved, you know this, right? Like it's amazing how much you get. But when I came back to Nashville, 1 10-foot box truck and my dog Scooter, McGee, my Great Dane, and we moved out. And I'm still getting rid of crap. A lot of old energy. I mean, on this... To create this company, I have hawked some of my prized guitars, amplifiers. I had a 68 Gibson Country Western acoustic, man. A first-year PV Eddie Van Halen 5150 amp, which still stings to just read that, because that was the first year they came out with them. That amp was so badass, dude. It was so killer. And I got rid of that 68 Marshall cabinet 4x12 with the vintage 25-watt greenback, 60s reissue Vox AC 30 amplifier, which was killer. And I had a rare, like there was less than 50 made, 80s Sunburst Gibson ES335. And these are just like the sexiest items that I got rid of because for my happiness, right? Because it was important to me to be here right now talking with you about this stuff and being able to have the influence that I have over the artists that I have and be able to work with some of the artists that I get to work with and be able to corroborate, to collaborate with them and do what we're doing. I mean, I just believed in what I was doing, and I took that step back. And Gary Vaynerchuk said 7 years later, well, I made myself a promise when I moved back here that after 5 years, if I look back on what I was doing, if I just didn't feel like I was really doing anything exciting or sexy, that I would just go sell insurance, because I could do 7 figures on that. I mean, I have that skill set, right? And I was definitely thinking I'm way too old for this crap, to be doing this at my age. But here's what was important. I wanted to create Daredevil Production. I wanted to learn how to market better. I wanted to crack the code. How are we going to get artists in front of people and get them to like the artist without radio? Because that was on the horizon, right? And the production thing, I just always loved that from the creative side of things. But I worked Uber and you and I have had a lot of talks about this, Brent, for 18 months to pay the bills while this company grew. I'd work Friday night after working a full week at the company. Friday night, I go work from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. And then Saturday, 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. And then I would sleep for 2 hours and wake up at like 5 in the morning, go work 5 to noon on Sunday, taking lots of people to the airport just to cover the bills and grow the company. And the company was growing, so there was trajectory there, but it's percentage, And when you start at zero or minus money, it takes a while for that sort of percentage to start to mean something that's going to pay your bills, Right, yeah. And man, look, the step back, I just went hard to the paint. And so now, like last November 5th was my 5-year anniversary here back in Nashville, but really it's probably only about 3 years I've been hardcore working on the marketing. And it's connecting that code to connecting artists and fans and monetizing those fans to make a living for my artists is like something that I'm so passionate about, that I'm happy about, and that's what attracts more business for me. That's what I think helps, makes me be a contributor to this podcast, to my blogs, and it's something that I'm most proud of. And the money, we'll make that by accident. You know what I mean? But it's about doing what you love to do. And that's really the message that I had today. That's what I wanted to put across, because there's no greater feeling than winning at what you love and doing what you're born to do. And we want you to win and not live the dichotomy. Don't get caught up on that hamster trail, on that hamster wheel.
Amen to that. Yeah. Well, cool, man. Thanks for sharing all that and just being open, being honest, and,
man.
Letting us know the deal.
Both of us were pretty open and honest on this one, huh?
I fake it extremely well.
But
fake it so well.
Well, hey, with that, guys, as always, I got a best-selling Twitter book. We give it away for free if you don't already have it. It's at giftfromjohnny.com. That's JOHNNY, giftfromjohnny.com. You can download the book. Just tell us where to send it. And if you're starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together from listening to this podcast, and you need a little bit of direction, maybe you're feeling a little stuck, you're feeling a little frustrated, then you know what? When Brent and I were talking about happiness being progress, like feeling like you just took just even one step forward, that's a really good feeling, man. And
it is.
I'm available to you for one-on-one consultations. Hit me up at info@daredevilproduction.com. Remember, production is singular. And we'll talk about what is, I'll take a look at everything, all your social media, your YouTube account, your website, your web store, if you have one, and just listen to everything that you have on the board for planning out your ascension into being able to make a living, and give you some honest feedback on it, give you some good direction that'll be personalized rather than so generalized. It'll be better for you. But with that, guys, this podcast exists again because we want you to win. So we'll say keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.